Bob's Burgers is a dynamic show. Some episodes put the Belcher family in life or death danger.
I'm sorry I got us into this. Kids, I love you. And Linda, I love you too. Almost as much as the kids.
And others find them simply trying to survive everyday problems.
Wow. 2 parents, 3 kids, Christmas performances.
There's gotta be a way. What time does everyone's thing start?
6.
This blend of grounded relatability and thrilling escapism is at the heart of this show's appeal for me, but I also appreciate how rewarding it can be the more you pay attention to the details of its world and storytelling. For instance, in the Season 7 Halloween episode Tina Witch, there's a throwaway gag where the episode's main character, Tina, is almost hit by a cyclist.
Bike lane, ma'am.
Sorry, cursed, and I'm only 13, please don't call me ma'am.
And 2 minutes later, the same thing happens with Bob, the main character of the Beast story, who's just trying to figure out who keeps stealing the burger-themed jack-o'-lanterns he's putting out in front of his restaurant.
On your right, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm not a ma'am.
Close enough.
Pretty standard running gag for an episode of TV, right? Except that wasn't enough for Bob's Burgers, because later, when Bob discovers that it was his obscenely wealthy landlord, Mr. Fishodor, who was stealing the jack-o'-lanterns all along, they have this exchange.
Wait, you're the one who's been stealing my jack-o'-lanterns?
Stealing? No, I thought we had an understanding. You carve them and leave them out, and then I take them. It's like how people keep giving me bikes.
Which is followed up at the episode's conclusion with,
Where do you want these bikes, Mr. Fishodor?
Around the back, Freddy.
You got it.
Good man.
and during the closing credits, the show arrives at its final punchline. The cyclist who terrorized Bob and Tina throughout the episode ends it with his bike stolen. The show took a simple, surface-level joke and turned it into an ironic little subplot in its own right. Now, obviously, you don't need to have noticed this thread to enjoy Tina Witch, but the fact the team behind the show takes the time to add these smaller, easy-to-miss details makes it all the more enjoyable to rewatch and engage with. And that brings us to the episode that is the focus of this video. Episode 5 of Season 5, titled Best Burger.
All right, Bob, let's do it. Let's win. Win, win, win.
Lynn, please.
Let's go.
Take it down a notch, okay? Or
Yes,
5.
Come on, cheer for your father. Cheer, cheer, cheer.
Lynn, stop.
Cheer.
This is hands down my favorite episode of the entire series, and this video is a love letter dedicated to unpacking and analyzing why I think it's so great. We'll start with surface level details, and then keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper until we eventually unlock a full-blown conspiracy theory I've developed, complete with this aluminum foil hat. So we've established that Bob's Burgers is a show that rewards close scrutiny. We've explained the structure of this really, truly simple video, but the one thing we haven't done is cut to Chapter 1. Here we go! Chapter 1. Rocky's Road. Best Burger is, at its core, an underdog story. The episode even goes out of its way to compare Bob to one of the most iconic underdogs in movie history.
Look at Skip over there. I don't think we can win this. It's like I'm Rocky and he's Apollo Creed.
That's good. Rocky always won.
Rocky lost in the first movie, Lynn.
Oh, but he walked up all those stairs. That's not fair.
This comparison is crucial to understanding how Best Burger unfolds and why, starting with the contest itself. As established in the opening moments, the Wharf-A-Down Food Festival is an annual tradition in town, but this year the main event is the first annual Best Burger contest. It's hosted by Chuck Charles, a local TV personality who holds a grudge against the Belchers, more on that later, and the contestants include our protagonists, Bob and Linda, their arch-nemesis Jimmy Pesto and his bartender/best friend Trev, and celebrity chef Skip Maruch, who's currently on tour promoting his new cookbook. When Chuck begrudgingly checks in on him, Bob reveals he's cooking the Bet It All on Black Garlic Burger, but clever as it is, that name doesn't stick around for long.
It's a fermented garlic. It comes from Korea.
Don't blame Korea for your stupid burger, Bob. Not fair to them or burgers.
I'm not blaming
The
them.
stupid black garlic burger. Put it up on the screen.
Oh my god.
Up, we made it up. Look, we're on the screen.
So they're not going to get any help from the ref, but other than that, things are looking pretty good, until they realize they're missing the most important ingredient.
All right, time to break out the black garlic. Lynn?
You got it. It's not in here.
Wait, what?
Turns out when they were getting ready to leave half an hour earlier, Bob asked his middle child, Gene, to grab the black garlic. And see, the thing about Gene is that you can really only rely on him for knowing when to deploy a well-timed fart joke.
All right, listen.
It shouldn't come as a surprise, therefore, to learn that he forgot to grab it. He forgot to grab the black garlic. So now the kids have to run back to the restaurant, grab the black garlic, and make it back all before the time runs out. Jean's willing to go without question, but youngest child Louise sees an opportunity to apply leverage.
And hurry, the clock is ticking.
Let's talk more about this clock that's ticking. Tick, tick, tick.
What do you want,
tick,
Louise?
tick, tick,
Louise.
tick. We never have to work again.
You can have the day off tomorrow.
Deal.
Now, with Bob's win and a day off on the line, the kids make for the restaurant. On their way there, they bump into family friend and reformed bank robber Mickey, who's trying to make it in the pedicab business, but is running into some stiff competition via new character Manny.
Hey, you kids don't want to ride from toothpick legs over here? Check out these better monsters, huh?
Wow, it looks like a bunch of snakes inside a leather armchair.
Yep.
Back off, Manny. This is my fair.
Oh, yeah? Well, this is my turf, rookie.
Hey, my first turf war. Whoa!
Once the kids get to the restaurant, Gene is about to grab the black garlic when he gets distracted at the last second by his spatula back scratcher and ends up smashing it and getting it all over the front of his shirt. They now have to go get a new clove from a specialty food market called
Fig Jam.
Fig jam?
Big jam.
whose owner the kids pissed off a week earlier, as seen in this flashback.
We'll take this dark chocolate bar with bacon and red pepper flakes, please.
Okay, that'll be $13.
What? No, we're just getting one, so this should cover it. Here you go.
You know, I think you three may be in the wrong store. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable shopping at the gumball machine at the gas station.
The situation escalates from there until the kids are banned from the store, so now they have to go and make nice with Ray, the owner of Fig Jam, who only decides to do business with them after Louise offers to pay double for the black garlic. Unfortunately, Gene got distracted again and gave the $20 they brought with them to a boy on a skateboard, so they swipe the black garlic with a promise to pay for it later, and Ray chooses to abandon his store to follow after them until they all wind up in a Mickey v. Manny high-speed pedicab chase through town. Mickey manages to outrun Manny, and they arrive back at the entrance of the festival. Gene is determined to deliver the black garlic to his dad himself, but there's just one problem.
This is a food festival, Gene. It's a distraction minefield for you.
Yeah, Gene, stay here and help me block Ray. It'll be a block party.
So Gene uses his powers of distraction to divert their attention long enough for him to steal the black garlic, and he makes his way through the festival with temptation calling to him every step of the way. Tina, Louise, and certified cool guy Ron stay behind to throw Ray that block party before they remind him that he left his store unattended and it's probably being looted, which is not quite the case.
Hello? Hello? I'm just gonna leave money on the counter. Love your store.
But it's enough to at least get him to leave them alone. Meanwhile, on stage, Bob is struggling with more internal obstacles. Because you see, sometimes growing up means running past the hot fudge car wash when you have someplace more important to be, but other times, growing up can look a little more like this.
I'm just saying, you picked our least responsible kid to do the most important thing. Maybe you kind of expected him to screw up?
That is ridiculous, Lynn.
Well, forgetting the black garlic sort of lets you off the hook for losing. Like it's not your fault. All of a sudden, you got a built-in excuse for not being the best.
That is crazy. That's maybe right? Oh my god.
The show is doing two things at once here that I think is really cool. For one, it's telling us about Bob's relationship with his son, obviously, but it's also telling us about Bob's relationship with himself. He starts the episode subconsciously believing he can't possibly win, so he unintentionally uses his most oblivious child as a means of fulfilling that self-fulfilling prophecy. And he can only move on, he can only grow up if he finally accepts responsibility for his own destiny, even if that might mean working really hard and still losing anyway.
Got garlic, broke law. You fix later. On our way. Smiley face. Oh, smiley face.
Oh my god, they got it. They're coming. We're gonna have everything we need. No more excuses.
No.
I'm terrified.
And once the black garlic is in hand, with only seconds to spare, Bob finally and fully embraces his inner Rocky.
Come on, Bobby. You got your gloves now. Time to beat Apollo.
Adrian!
No, not like that. Say it right.
What? I'm saying it right. Adrian, I don't have time, Lynn.
But what about Gene? Well, I'm happy to report that when he made it back to the stage with the black garlic, he and Bob shared a meaningful heart-to-heart.
Before I give you the black garlic, I just want to say one more thing.
There's only 45 seconds left, Gene, so...
I've always admired you.
Just give me the garlic, Gene. We'll talk later.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I snapped.
Oh, shoot. That wasn't a meaningful heart-to-heart. Maybe it's this clip here.
Listen, Gene, you may get distracted from time to time, but I love you and I love who you are. And what matters most is... Gene? Jane, are you listening?
Well, that's certainly more than a lot of people get from their parents, so let's call it a win. Speaking of winning, Bob doesn't do that. He loses. He loses the contest. He gets really close. The judges basically have the exact same things to say about his burger that they do about Skip's, which Linda summarizes for us here.
Okay, Bob. You got a fantastic and an ooh, but he got an amazing and a really weird moan, and he liked both your mouthfeels. I'd say it's a tight race.
Unfortunately, it's not enough. Skip wins. It doesn't even take them that long to decide.
And now the judges will deliberate. Cue deliberating music, please.
You know what? I did my best. I held my own with Skip, and no matter what happens, Lynn, I feel pretty good.
And our winner is Skip Marouche!
Oh my God, I feel bad.
Ah, damn it! Piece of garbage!
How can we lose? Are you kidding me?
Okay.
And it's only after Bob has accepted his loss, after he acknowledges that he did the best he could and still came up short, and after he, well, attempts to reconcile with his son, that he finally gets his reward. A line outside his restaurant, waiting to try his black garlic burger, and among them is Skip Marouche himself. The ending of Best Burger tells us that even though Bob doesn't get the more high-profile and superficial victory of winning the contest, he does get the more personal and ultimately more meaningful victory of self-respect, just like Rocky going 15 rounds with Apollo Creed.
Ain't gonna be no rematch.
Don't want one.
And on its own, that's enough. I could stop here and declare that Best Burger is a phenomenal episode of Bob's Burgers and a pretty great episode of TV overall. But I'm not going to stop here, am I? You can see how much time is left on the video. You know we're just getting started.
All right.
And after I win this contest today, we're also going to be known for our oregano burger.
All right. And what's in that?
Just a ton of oregano.
The Big O!
Don't say Big O.
All right, I won't say anything then, ever.
Now that we understand how the competition itself unfolds, let's take a closer look at the competitors, starting with this guy.
Jimmy Pesto's is known for our family-friendly atmosphere, festive drink specials, and Italian-flavored foods.
Jimmy Pesto, real name James Poplapovich, is crucial to the DNA of Bob's Burgers. He's the ultimate foil to Bob, his exact opposite in every way that matters. The character first appears in the 6th episode of the show ever, and here's Bob himself explaining exactly why he hates the guy so much.
God, I hate Jimmy Pesto with his crappy food and all his customers.
His crappy food and all his customers. It takes all of 7 words to define this relationship, but there are several different ways we could interpret them. For instance, you could take it as simple jealousy. Jimmy is successful and Bob isn't, therefore Jimmy Pesto is bad. But this interpretation only takes into account the second half of what Bob says, the all his customers part, and I'm personally more interested in the first half of what he says, the crappy food part. Because when you take that into account, it's clear Bob's problem with Jimmy isn't simply that he's successful, it's that he's being rewarded for mediocrity and for making a mockery of a craft Bob loves, respects, and takes seriously. As a friend of mine pointed out when reviewing the script for this video, quote, "It's a direct assault on his values, and a reminder that you can be driven by all the right things and still lose out to someone doing things the wrong way." Bob prides himself in only using the highest quality beef. Jimmy Pesto will use whatever's cheapest.
Bob, I run a business, all right? I don't know what you're doing with your fancy ingredients.
You think anything that isn't frozen or rotten is fancy, Jimmy?
Bob loves and supports his family. Jimmy Pesto will brag about how only one of his kids got detention.
I win.
Well, I had none in detention yesterday. How many did you have in the... Don't roll up your window! Roll it back down!
And perhaps most importantly for the themes of the show, Bob opened his restaurant with a dream to make a new burger every single day, using unique and sometimes bizarre ingredients, and Jimmy Pesto opened his restaurant with a dream to make as much money as he possibly can. Jimmy Pesto is a fraud, a liar, a cheat. He delights in the misfortune of others, he thinks of his kids as a burden, and he's willing to go to great lengths, often against his own best interests, just to spite someone he doesn't like very much. He honestly sounds like the kind of guy you wouldn't be surprised to find out is an insurrectionist. Wait a minute. But while Jimmy Pesto is all of those things, that's not all he ever is. He is capable of being kind to Trev.
It's a mummy.
Looks like an ugly ghost.
I spent all weekend on it.
You know what? Leave it there. It's terrifying.
Okay.
And he is capable of being a halfway decent human being to Bob.
You recommended me for this. Why? You had to be setting me up for something.
Yeah, I thought you guys would like your food.
What? I couldn't hear you.
I said I told them I like food, you know.
No, now you just mumbled. You're covering your face with your blanket.
I thought they would like your food, and then they would like me because I recommended you, and that's how I'd get into the thing.
You thought they would like my food?
Oh, it sounds gross when you say it.
So why isn't he all of these things all the time then? Well, because he's miserable. This is a man who could not care less about food, choosing to center his entire livelihood around it. He is living a lie in which he has to pretend to be a successful chef while being none of the things it takes to actually be a chef worthy of that success. In short, he is not living authentically, and yet, he is being rewarded for it. And what other choice is he left with in that case? He has to keep lying, he has to keep talking about his promotions, about his drink specials, about his wacky appetizers. Otherwise, people will realize his food is no good, they'll realize he's a fraud, and he'll lose everything. And that sword of Damocles constantly hanging over his head makes him both miserable and miserable to be around.
Done! Ding! Ooh, what? Wow, Jimmy has plated his burgers with 10 minutes left. Of course, those burgers may get cold before the judges have a chance to... Ooh, okay, brought a little heat lamp with him.
Yeah, heat lamp adds a little flavor.
And keeps my lizard warm.
Would you? Come on!
So, his inauthenticity brings him material success, but not genuine happiness. Bob, meanwhile, loves cooking, and he's dedicated his life to making the best food he possibly can. He finds joy in the process, and he finds joy in sharing what he's made with others, especially his family.
Bobby, this is really good.
This is amazing, Bob. It really is.
Are you crying?
Oh, I'm just so happy.
In short, Bob is living authentically, but while that certainly brings him happiness, it doesn't bring him success. His restaurant is empty far more often than it's full. He and Linda are always behind on rent. They worry about being able to afford Christmas presents for their kids, and they regularly accept side jobs that put them in physical danger. Because in Bob's world, much like in our own, it's not enough to just be really good at what you do. Jimmy Pesto's success proves as much. His food isn't as good, yet he consistently has more customers than Bob does. Sure, Bob is a great chef, but what difference does that make if he can't get people through the door to try his food in the first place? Anytime he is presented with an opportunity to expand his business or use newer tools that save him time or add trendy new items to his menu, he rejects them.
Sorry, I can't do this, Lynn. Sweet potato fries are officially off the menu.
This is a man who wants to pursue the craft of making burgers authentically, and he believes that straying too far from what he defines as authentic will dilute the quality of his work. And it's here that we arrive at the real difference between Bob Belcher and Jimmy Pesto, the thing that makes these two characters such great foils to each other. Because you see, the fundamental difference between them is not that Bob is a great chef and Jimmy Pesto isn't. Rather, it's that Jimmy Pesto is a businessman and Bob Belcher is an artist. If you're a longtime fan of the show, this argument may seem surprising given things Bob himself has said.
It was long and boring and made me want to stop supporting the arts and start actively working against them.
But when you look at the show through the lens of Bob as an artist, you see it everywhere. You can see it in the episode where Bob gets a bad review and he considers giving up the restaurant to get some ordinary day job, and it's framed as a literal nightmare. You can see it in the episode where Bob is struggling with what's basically writer's block when he can't come up with a new burger of the day. And you can see it in the episode where he returns a brand new electric meat grinder because he prefers the texture and complexity his burgers have when they come from his old and rickety hand-cranked grinder.
I don't know, maybe it's all in my head. I guess I miss that grind. I need that grind. I mean, you know, it's kind of a metaphor for life, really. We get older and it beats us up, but we also get more textured, more complex, more beautifully ground up into delicious burgers.
So you want to return it?
Yes, please.
These are the struggles of someone who has formed a unique and special bond with some small part of this world, and every atom of his body compels him to seek out and understand it. These are the struggles of an artist, and like any artist, making burgers isn't merely a job to him. It's not something he's doing for fame, success, or even money. It's something he's doing because it's how he tells the world who he is. When Bob Belcher grills someone a burger, he is sharing a piece of himself with them through that burger, in the same way Van Gogh shared pieces of himself through the paint on a canvas, or Jane Austen through the words on a page, or Tommy Wiseau through the lens of a camera.
Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
And if you're still not convinced, well, here's the show coming to the exact same conclusion.
You're not a businessman. You don't care about customers and money. Ha!
No, I do.
No, you are an artist. A beef artist. A beefartist. A poet who writes with meat and buns and pickles like a greasy, heterosexual Walt Whitman.
Thank you.
To Jimmy Pesto, cooking is an easy way to make money. To Bob Belcher, it's an art form. And he's not the only creative one in the family either. Linda loves to sing, dance, act, and perform. Tina's a writer who specializes in erotic friend fiction. Gene is, well, maybe musician isn't the right word for him, but he does like making noise that resembles music most of the time.
Don't score me.
And recent seasons in particular have leaned heavily into Louise's creative instincts, from The Plight Before Christmas to Amelia to For Whom the Doll Tolls.
Ready? Mr. Stiffarms. Another accident? Tripped and fell?
Mr. Stiff.
It's Mr. Stiffarms.
What'd I say?
You said Mr. Stiff.
You're Mr. Stiff.
And look at how the show handles its anthology episodes. Every single one of them involves at least 3 members of the family, most often the kids, telling each other's stories.
Well, we'll never really know what would have happened if I didn't have a mustache back then.
But we can wildly speculate.
No.
I don't want to.
I take you back to that night.
The Belchers are, at their core, a family of artists, and Bob and Linda are framed as good, loving parents specifically because they not only accept, but embrace and foster this sense of creativity in their kids. This is in direct contrast to how Bob himself was raised, when his attempts to be creative with cooking were shut down by his father and ultimately led to their estrangement.
Get out! Take your jokey burger specials and go!
Fine! You just gave me a new burger idea! The I'm Sprouta here burger comes with sprouts! Not that, but something else!
And I think it's fair to say that the way Bob was raised is pretty similar to how Jimmy Pesto is raising his kids. His oldest son, Jimmy Jr., has a passion for dance, but he feels misunderstood and unsupported by his father.
I had a fight with my dad this morning. He said I have to go to speech therapy instead of dance club. I don't need speech therapy, Dad. You need dance therapy.
And Jimmy doesn't seem to be doing much better with his younger sons, Andy and Ollie.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for the heads up about the baseball camp.
Isn't it great?
Last chance to earn my love, guys.
I love that joke.
But so what, right? Bob's a good dad living a happy life. Jimmy Pesto isn't, but he is a successful businessman, while Bob is a struggling, insecure artist. How is all of this crucial to the DNA of the show, like I said earlier? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that actually brings us to our third and final contestant,
Skip Marooch. Am I saying that right?
Yes. Skip.
Notice how he's placed at the center of the stage, between Bob and Jimmy. Now, from a surface level standpoint, this would make sense for a couple of reasons. Within the world of the show, he's the most famous person competing, so let's make him the point of focus for the crowd. And from a real-world production standpoint, it makes sense to put your regular characters on either side of a guest star. But given everything we've just discussed, isn't the deeper meaning here pretty obvious too? Bob is great at food, Jimmy Pesto is great at business, but Skip Marooch is great at both.
So you're from Pakistan, you've got a successful restaurant, you're on a book tour. Guy, what can't you do?
Complain? Everything is going so well.
This guy.
He has attained a level of success that neither Bob nor Jimmy could ever reach on their own, because he has the strengths of both with the weaknesses of neither. He can win over a crowd like Jimmy.
Sheesh, I know we're here for Bob, but it's hard to root against that guy.
He is likable.
Shush! I can't hear them cooking!
But he's able to back it up with good food like Bob.
So what are you making today? I already love you.
Today I will be making a pomegranate and green chili chutney burger with my grandmother's special spice blend.
2 words, yum and yum.
And in that way, the Skip Marooches of the world will always win out over the Bob Belchers and Jimmy Pestos. If you're a fraud, your work won't stand up to close scrutiny, so all you can do is talk long enough and loud enough that people either forget or simply ignore the truth.
Looks like the judges are tasting Jimmy Pesto's burger first. Let's see how they are spitting it out.
That's cool. Hey, 2 for 1 pizza night Wednesdays, karaoke Tuesdays, trivia Thursdays. We
And if you're a struggling, insecure artist, you'll spend so much time fighting yourself that you won't have much energy left for anything else.
We finished! We finished the burgers!
Hooray for Bob! He managed to somehow do what he does every day for a living. What a champion.
That's my Bobby!
But if you're Skip Marooch, you're just minding your business, cooking your food, pretending to strangle the host for some reason.
Warm, charming, and funny, strong hands to boot. That's why he's got a book and Bob doesn't.
If nothing else, Skip Marooch is a symbol of what it would look like if Bob and Jimmy could ever get over themselves, set aside their differences, and go into business together. With Bob's cooking and Jimmy Pesto's knack for drawing a crowd, they could be a genuine force to be reckoned with. But these guys could never be partners, let alone actual friends, and Best Burger understands this. That's why it places them on opposite sides of the stage with Skip Marooch between them, just as the greater show places them on opposite sides of the street with Ocean Avenue between them. They could find a way forward, travel down a new, more fulfilling, and maybe even successful road together if only they could meet in the middle. But instead, they waste their time glaring across the street at each other, seeing a simultaneous representation of everything they hate and everything they wish they could have. And the show makes it clear that if they could just set aside their own preconceived notions and prejudices, they might see the human being on the other side of all that and finally realize they have a lot more in common than not. But that would require them both to set aside their egos and admit they were wrong, so yeah, never gonna happen. Which means they're destined to keep losing in their own ways forever, because they would clearly rather fail together as enemies than succeed together as allies. Jimmy's food will keep getting spit out, Bob will keep just scraping by, and Skip Marooch will forever exist in the space between them, minding his own business, cooking his food, and admiring his big, shiny, burger-shaped trophy.
It's shaped like a burger! I get it!
Chapter 3, Blue Jean. Now that we understand how the competition unfolds and why the various contestants either succeed or fail, let's turn our attention to the other protagonist of Best Burger.
What's so hard to understand about? I saw the black garlic, but then I saw my spatula back scratcher, and when I reached for it, your black garlic got smeared all over my belly.
Oh my god.
As we discussed earlier, Jean isn't exactly the most reliable of the Belcher kids, and this is but one of many reasons why, out of the three of them, he's usually the one Bob has the most trouble connecting with. He'll introduce his oldest daughter Tina to rites of passage he experienced in his own youth, like attending a Rocky Horror-esque movie screening or getting impromptu driving lessons, and the connection between Bob and Louise is the subject of numerous episodes, from Hawk and Chick to Late Afternoon in the Garden of Bob and Louise, and the centerpiece of the show's 100th episode is a fantastical duet between the two that exemplifies their comparable anxieties and imaginations. Bob's relationship with Jean, meanwhile, often looks like this.
Okay, I'm taking this. Give it to me.
No! Ow!
Stop it, Gene!
That time I aimed at your face.
All right, how about this? You're a bad boy!
It stinks in here!
Bob! Gene, look at yourselves!
There are plenty of episodes that explore a more peaceful side to Bob and Jean's relationship, and there are some that even end with them growing closer and learning to better understand each other, but that's not quite what Best Burger is doing, at least not in the same way, and in order to understand what it's doing differently and why it's so unique, we need to look at how the episode is structured. A standard episode of Bob's Burgers, and really any TV show, will take the larger ensemble of main characters and break them off into discrete plot lines. For those of you who've seen my video on the commercialization of the Saw movies, this might look and sound a little familiar, and that's because it is. Whether intentional or not, that first run of Saw sequels more or less employed the same basic plot structure as a weekly television show. And while I'm skeptical of this as a strategy for a yearly theatrical horror franchise, it's a really great way to structure a sitcom, which is all about creating a sense of familiarity. But that's not what Best Burger is doing at all. Here we have the singular overarching A story of Bob trying to win the competition that breaks off into two smaller and separate B and C stories. And it's not until the end, after Gene's made his climactic run through the food festival, that the B and C stories reconverge into the A story, which takes us through to the episode's conclusion. So while other Bob and Gene episodes revolve around the two of them either butting heads or learning to occupy the same space together, Best Burger separates them and puts them on different yet complementary journeys. As we discussed earlier, Bob's story is that of an underdog, a working-class David facing off against a rich and famous Goliath. Gene's story has elements of this, especially once Ray from Fig Jam enters the mix, but his story is ultimately about something else entirely. And in order to understand what that is and why it matters, it's time at last that we talk about Mickey and Manny. Chapter 4, Gladiator 2. In part 1, I told you that Mickey is driving a pedicab in this episode, but what I didn't mention is that's not his normal job.
Hey, Belter Boppers!
Mickey! Wait, you drive a pedicab? I thought you worked at Wonder Wharf.
Oh, I just started driving this during festivals and weekends. Make a lot of money hauling around lazies and drunks.
We are both. Give us a ride.
Now, I'm very aware that this moment exists largely as a hand-wavy justification to include Mickey in this plotline, but at the same time, I can't help but notice some pretty obvious subtext. Mickey taking on a second job is more or less confirmation that his regular day job at Wonder Wharf doesn't pay him enough to get by. Sure, Mickey seems to be pretty upbeat about it. He doesn't seem to be as angsty about his economic situation as I am on his behalf, but he's also, like I mentioned earlier, a reformed bank robber who has a tendency of falling off the wagon. So the fact he's choosing to spend his free time not robbing banks is pretty much a net win for everybody. Of course, I'd argue that as long as he doesn't bring a weapon and does whatever he can to keep things calm, there's probably not much harm in it. He's not likely to traumatize the bank tellers any more than they already have been after dealing with the post-COVID American public, and whatever cash he is able to get his hands on is going to be insured, so the bank will get that money back, and after a while it'll almost be like nothing ever happened in the first place, so at this point I can't even really think of a reason why he couldn't rob a bank. The point is, I think it's bullshit that Mickey has to have a second job. He's a flawed man who's done the wrong things in the past, but 1, he's paid his debt to society, B, he's genuinely trying to do better, and 3, he deserves to live a life of basic comfort and dignity the way every human being does, especially when his boss is this f***ing guy who could absolutely afford to pay his employees a living wage. I'm still just talking about a cartoon, of course. None of this applies to the real world. Mickey's whole pedicab job is made all the more frustrating the moment Manny swoops in trying to steal the fare. These two guys are in the exact same situation, and yet they've been fooled into fighting each other for customers rather than fighting back against the system that put them in this situation to begin with. They're honestly not that dissimilar from Roman gladiators, victims from the lower classes forced to do battle, even down to the quasi-chariot race at the episode's climax. The biggest difference between the two, in my view, is that the gladiators back then at least had the benefit of knowing that what they were fighting for was their own survival. Like, just look at how Ray gets his pedicab ride from Manny.
Stop! there, cowboy!
I will give you $20 if you catch up to that pedicab.
Wait, what? You mean that spaghetti-legged fare thief?
Yes.
Oh, baby. Mickey, you are going down.
Okay.
Let's get him!
This is a purely transactional relationship, the gears of capitalism clicking into place as intended. Ray is a member of the ruling class. He owns a high-end food market where a candy bar costs $13, and he can leave that market completely unattended without consequence. So he naturally appeals to Manny, a member of the working class, by blocking his path forward, nearly creating a collision that could have gotten everyone injured, exploiting Manny's pre-existing rivalry with Mickey, and of course throwing $20 around like it's nothing. Meanwhile, for the Belchers, who like Manny are members of the working class, $20 looks more like this.
Tina, listen to me. Go to your mom's bra drawer and find the cash she thinks is secret.
There's no money in there. There's no money.
Take $20 and go to that specialty food market on 3rd, Fig Jam.
And when Gene gives that money away to the boy on a skateboard, that's it. Money gone, no do-overs. If they want to help their dad win the competition, if they want their day off, the only real option left is to steal the black garlic. And since the kids don't have money to throw around like Ray does, how is it that they end up getting their pedicab ride from Mickey?
Hey, kids! Hey!
Hi, Ron.
Hey, move over, buddy!
Sorry, gang. I'm kind of in the middle of a fair here.
I was going to the library. Taking a pedicab there is my weekly splurge.
But we stole something!
Oh, why didn't you say so? Where to?
There are plenty of ways you could describe what just happened in that clip, a lot of them involving words like criminal or delinquents, but the words I'd prefer to use are community and class solidarity. Mickey knows what it's like to be desperate enough to steal something, and he's been around the Belcher kids enough to know that they wouldn't steal something themselves without good reason, so of course he's going to help them, why wouldn't he? And the same goes for certified cool guy Ron, who immediately identifies himself as another member of the working class with his line about the pedicab being his weekly splurge. Where Manny provides his service to Ray with the promise of financial compensation and getting one over on a competitor, Mickey provides his service to the kids simply because he wants to help them, without any promise or guarantee of a material return, and his attempts to outrun Manny are not driven by a desire to defeat a competitor, but out of his compassion for the kids. So the Mickey v. Manny pedicab chase through town isn't merely a physical clash between rivals, it's a metaphorical competition between opposing ideologies. Ray and Manny are operating within an ideology that prizes individualism and personal gain at the expense of everything else, while Mickey, Ron, and the Belcher kids are operating within an ideology that values pluralism and the common good, values that ultimately win the day. Because when all is said and done, it's the criminal, the delinquents, and certified cool guy Ron who are victorious, while the righteous capitalist and his hired hand are defeated. And yet, interestingly, in their final exchange of the episode, neither Mickey nor Manny seem to be all that upset with how things played out.
That's a mean pedicabbing out there, Wookie. You got the legs of a mouse, but the heart of a lion.
My uncle's got the heart of a lion. He got it in Thailand.
Thailand, huh?
Yeah.
They got nice ties in Thailand?
I love you, Manny.
At first glance, Mickey and Manny seem like a fun but ultimately inconsequential addition to Best Burger. But thematically, they tie the whole episode together. Because yes, it's funny that these two end up connecting as quickly as they do, that's obviously the joke, but consider how they get to that joke. The thing that opens the door to the possibility of these two guys connecting at all. Manny admits he was wrong. And I'm sorry, that sounds really familiar. Where have I heard that before? Oh, right, it's the exact thing we said Bob and Jimmy Pesto couldn't do for each other in Chapter 2. Because you see, Bob and Jimmy may be foils to each other, but in Best Burger, Mickey and Manny serve as a combined foil to the pair of them. For example, Bob and Mickey are both trying something new in this episode. Bob has entered the competition, and Mickey is driving a pedicab. But their attitudes toward these new endeavors could not be more different. Bob faces the competition as a mess of anxiety, dread, and self-doubt, while Mickey approaches pedicab driving with optimism, curiosity, and a sense of joy, even when he's faced with conflict. And at no point during the pedicab chase does Mickey ever doubt himself. He just keeps pedaling. Compare this to Bob, who, well...
I'm not freaking out!
He's fine. He needs to get to you silly.
While Jimmy Pesto is a foil for Bob's success, Mickey is, in this episode at least, a foil for Bob's confidence. Meanwhile, Jimmy Pesto knows he's a crappy chef, and we have canonical proof of this in the show's 10th episode, Burger Wars.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Go into the garbage.
As commenter Verdiak explains, the fact that Bob is the superior chef eats Jimmy up inside, and it, quote, explains why Jimmy puts so much effort into antagonizing Bob, always bragging about how he's more successful. Deep down, he knows he doesn't deserve his success, unquote. Contrast this with Manny, who's a good enough pedicab driver that he actually respects Mickey for outrunning him. He doesn't need to resent or antagonize Mickey because he now understands that they're equals, worthy of each other's respect. So, where Bob is a foil for Jimmy Pesto's talent, Manny is, in this episode, a foil for Jimmy's humility and authenticity. And as another point of comparison, Mickey and Manny, unlike Bob and Jimmy, realize that just because they're forced to compete over resources doesn't mean they have to hate each other. Mickey and Manny are everything Bob and Jimmy can never and will never be, and we can see just how far apart these duos are from each other by looking at where they are physically located at the episode's conclusion, on opposite sides of the festival from each other. This is where the story of Mickey and Manny becomes integral to that of Jeans, who, yes, is an underdog in this episode like Bob, but his actual arc of change is that of a Bildungsroman, or a coming-of-age tale, wherein a character takes their first metaphorical steps out of childhood and into adulthood. And part of the fundamental brilliance of Best Burger to me is that it makes these metaphorical steps literal through Jeans' spring sprint across the food festival. Mickey and Manny are placed where Gene must start from, representing an idealized version of the world where people generally get along, money doesn't get in the way of relationships, and gening out is a wholesome quirk, while Bob and Jimmy are placed at Gene's destination, representing a more nihilistic reality where people are bullied and humiliated for sport, money is the primary reason anyone does anything, and where a lack of self-awareness can be your undoing. These characters exist at opposite ends of a spectrum, and Gene's gauntlet through the food festival, his trial by fire of self-control, is a race across that spectrum and toward a more mature version of himself, one that's more capable of facing the real world. Gene doesn't just run past a bunch of crazy food he wants to eat, he experiences a rite of passage. A rite of passage that demands he leave a piece of himself behind. The piece that wants to give in without question to instant gratification. If he ever wants to prove to his family and to himself that he can be relied upon for more than just a well-timed fart joke,
come and get it.
then he must move on from this. He must grow up. But doing so also means confronting a bleak and messy world where people aren't always rewarded for their hard work. A world where he and his siblings will be hunted down by a capitalist who would rather leave his entire store unattended than let some lower class kids get away with stealing $8 from him. A world where his dad, who could use a win, might lose to someone who's gotten used to it. And a world where we don't always get to say everything we wish we could to the people we care about most. The world we inhabit isn't perfect. It's not always gonna work the way we want it to, but Best Burger looks at that imperfection and says, so what? Just because you failed to win a competition doesn't mean you're a loser unworthy of support.
Are you guys open? We want to try that black garlic burger.
Can I have a black garlic burger too?
Skip?
Yeah.
What the hell?
You want to try my burger?
Yeah, I smelt it, and now I want you to dealt it into my mouth.
And just because you take on more responsibilities as you get older doesn't mean you can't still have fun.
Gene? You want to go start the grill?
Nope, my day off starts now, and I will be spending the next 24 hours at the Hot Fudge Car Wash. Bye-bye.
Oh.
Bob doesn't win his competition, and Gene doesn't become a fundamentally different person. But those things were never the point. The point was to go the distance. The point was to keep getting up, to keep trying, no matter how hard things get. The point was to prove to themselves and to their family that despite all the odds stacked against them, that they are and always will be worth fighting for. And the show makes it clear that Bob's community and even Skip himself can see that, even if the judges couldn't. Honestly, it's almost as if the whole thing was rigged. Let's begin with some facts. Fact number 1, the Wharf It Down Food Festival has been operating for years. Fact number 2, the Best Burger competition is new, this year specifically. Fact number 3, Chuck Charles was somehow involved in getting the competition established. Fact number 4, Chuck treats all of the contestants differently. He's a dick to Bob, he's neutral towards Jimmy, and Skip's ass must be numb because Chuck just can't stop kissing it. Fact number 5, during the taste test, it is clearly established that Bob and Skip have made equally impressive burgers. Fact number 6, despite fact number 5, it only takes the judges a matter of seconds to decide who the winner is. There is a 7th secret fact that I will reveal when the time is right, but for now, with these 6 things in mind, let's tell a story. Chuck Charles learns that celebrity chef Skip Maruch is coming to town for his book tour at the same time as the Wharf It Down Food Festival, which he sees as a
slightly sad event where artisans try to sell specialty foods.
But not this year thanks to him, and it's thanks to him because he coordinated with Skip's team and the festival organizers to create the first annual Best Burger contest. The icing on the cake comes when the Belchers sign up. It gives him the opportunity to insult, bully, and ultimately humiliate Bob and Linda when they inevitably lose, regardless regardless of how well they actually perform. That is why he treats all the contestants so differently, and that is why the judges come to a decision so quickly, because the decision had already been made before any of the contestants ever stepped foot on that stage. From the moment he drunkenly signs up with his wife after putting his kids to bed, Bob is playing a rigged game. A game rigged for the benefit of someone with more fame, money, and success than he could ever hope to achieve himself, despite his work being just as good. The real reason Bob lost the first annual Best Burger contest, according to this tinfoil hat, wasn't because his burger failed to be the best, but because it was never a contest at all. And if this airtight case I've built still isn't enough to convince you, allow me to now reveal the 7th secret fact. I am so certain that Chuck Charles rigged this competition in Skip's favor because he's done it before. In Family Fracas, Chuck hosts the titular game show that Bob, Linda, and the kids wind up being so good at that they just keep winning, to the point that it drives him crazy. But his producer refuses to kick them off the show. So, when the Pestos come on and Chuck realizes that Jimmy hates the Belchers as much as he does, the two conspire to cheat at the final game, resulting in not only defeat, but abject humiliation for Bob. And here's the messed up part, Chuck and Jimmy get away with it. The only copy of the footage proving they cheated immediately gets destroyed, leaving Bob and his family with no further recourse. They lose a game they discover was rigged, they even find a way to prove it, but when they try to hold the ones who wronged them accountable, the cheaters just cheat again, so the Belchers lose again. And as one final bit of insult to injury, the last scene of the episode involves Bob being coerced by his own family into helping Jimmy change a tire on his brand new minivan. The very same minivan the Belchers were trying and by all rights deserved to win during their legitimate and unprecedented run. So yes, Chuck has done this before, and I am personally convinced that he did it again here. But that's also kind of a problem, isn't it? If you accept that my theory about the contest being rigged is true, then that means Chuck Charles got away with cheating yet again. So through that lens, how on earth could Best Burger possibly be a better, let alone more inspiring episode than Family Fracas? To put the question more simply, does it matter? No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. That's the short answer, but because I'm me, there's obviously a long answer too, and it's this. Even if the first annual Best Burger contest was rigged, I don't think it takes anything away from what Bob or his family accomplished, both in what they proved to themselves or in what they proved to their community. If anything, the idea the game was rigged makes the fact they come home to a line down the block all the more satisfying. Because at the end of the day, we are all playing the exact same game as the characters in Best Burger. There are spaces we're excluded from because we can't afford them. We have to take on side hustles just to get by, and these conditions often pit us against our neighbors, whose only crime is being in the same situation as us. But when we choose to show up and support each other, when we choose to stay focused on a greater purpose rather than our own instant gratification, and when we choose to see the best in ourselves and in each other, it doesn't matter if the game we're playing is rigged, because we'll have helped each other make it through another day. And I can't think of any game or contest more worth winning than that.
What?
I said it's nice. Okay, I'm done talking to you.